Hi guys, so how do you approach designing a cutout character? Well, like everything, you should try and sketch a lot. Try and sketch. I was trying to sketch cutout character in the frame of the Italian sort of animation we've been looking at, that really, really simple stuff. And when you do that, you know, it's so simple. It's covering loads and loads of easy joints to cover. So your joint is hidden behind here. This is the shape of your arm, but you don't see it when you're shooting it. So you put dotted lines in there, you put dotted lines in there. So you've got to have that's the guy's neck. So you've got dotted lines. So you're trying to think all the time of how does this character move? How does it move easily? How does it move efficiently? So, that's what it looks like. But we know that the cutout piece is going to be bigger. And by being bigger, and by not seeing this bit here, we're giving ourselves lots of movement. But the trick is, of course, that you don't see the joints. They don't stick out too much. Now, in a simple animation like this, or our friends in South Park, we can, we can make very, very simple characters. And we'll go ahead and make this simple character. What this really works neatly for, these simple characters, is it gives you very, very easy movement. So these legs can move over this way, and they can move up and down. This leg can move this way and move up and down. The head can rock very nicely as well in these directions. It's got a neck. The neck is nice and curved, so if it does stretch up, you won't see any hard joints. You'll just see a curve if it's bending down or something like that. You've got little hands in there. You can make them long, and so they can stretch a bit, and what have you. So you're building up a character. Remember, these are arrows, not eyes. They look like eyes. And what you're looking for is movement that's north, south, east, and west. So we're seeing north, south, east, west movements here. This is an east-west movement. And another thing you might notice is there's no fiddly pieces. You don't want to be cutting anything too fiddly. So when you're happy with your design, and we'll pretend we're happy with this design, you have to transfer it onto card. So what we're looking for is very light card, right? It's not cornflakes box cards. Cornflakes boxes are horrendous. You don't want to go near them. You don't want to go anything too light. You certainly don't want to go to paper. Paper will curl up and get dirty. It just doesn't have any shelf life. So you put this guy down and you cut out the different pieces, this simple character. Now, I've got a head, 2 arms, body, 5, 6 are the 2 legs. I made the feet and the legs the same, which is very convenient. Arms and these wrists don't really move. It's nice to have a flicking wrist. But I made the hands and the forearms the same, just for simplicity. And so, again, I was thinking of north, south, west movement, and I was avoiding little pieces. However, what about eyes? Very, very small eyes. And usually on full shots like this, you don't bother moving the eyes. It's a curse. You'd go to a close-up and move the eyes. The hair, look at that hair. It's very springy. It's very thready. It's not good. It's not good, You don't want to go in those fiddly things. You don't want to do any of them. By the way, you can use tracing paper and carbon paper. I don't know if you know what carbon paper is. It's old-fashioned, but it's great for transferring images. Or in the case of this one, which is very simple, which I did, I just drew it down. Okay, so when you cut the little fecker out, should I say fecker? That's not a very nice thing to say. There he is. By the way, I changed the head because the head was just unbearable to look at. There he is. He's a very simple little character. Notice how he's all stuck down. I'm using double-sided tape, so I'm just doubling up masking tape. It's all very nicely stuck down. Makes him fairly solid. And of course, if I was shooting him, I'd have him stuck down on the background as well. So it's kind of a little clumsy here. Oh my God, that would be awful because you can see the top of his shoulder. So you don't want that. You want to keep that in. So you've got some nice movement here. Actually, you're surprised when you play around with these things how you can get very, very a lot more action, a lot more design than you thought you had right, when you actually cut them out. And of course he'd walk like this. Okay. And look, he can knock his head over. Oh, look, he's looking up there. Whoa, see how I move my hands away. That's kind of what you have to do professionally. Look at that awful shadow. So look, he's looking up going, hey, what's going on? And then he's looking to you, and he doesn't know. Maybe he just doesn't know what's going on. Could do a little dance, you know. Hey, you can do all sorts of things. He's a little puppet, and he can move under. And just think of how much drawings you're saving. You can make his arms wave. You can make him wave for 2 seconds. You know, that would be 24 drawings of a hand moving if you were doing it Disney-like. But it's one drawing here, and you just manipulate it under the camera. Well, there you can't have shoulders moving up. You should always try and keep the pivot. Find the pivot mark, which would be here, would be the shoulder. And then you move. I see how I take my hands off. And you shoot that. And you come back in the same way, and you hold the pivot, which is where the shoulder is, and you move it again a little bit, and you take it away, and you shoot. And you move the pivot again. Oh, look, it's coming up too uncomfortably there. So that's a bad move. But anyway, we're just showing stuff. So there I made 3 moves. I didn't do 3 drawings. There's only 1 drawing. It's the puppet. Okay, so that's a nice little character. He's looking 3/4. So just so you know, you have 3 ways of looking really at the camera. You have direct to camera, where you look straight into the camera lens. You have profile, where it's a profile. And in between that is more or less 3/4. I would say that's his head's 3/4, his body is direct to camera. Here's something that's profile, and the reason why I'm showing you this is because it's much more realistic character. It's more realistically drawn, and as a result it throws up a lot more problems, because if you want to make it realistic more, you've got a lot more movement to do. You've got to worry about the neck movement, for the head moving up and down. We saw that in the simple character, but it's very simple. We've got shoulder movement, we've got elbow movement, waist movement, especially when it's bending. We've got wrist movement, hip movement, knees and ankles. So if you're going to make that guy walk and maybe pick up something, all of those things are going to have to happen. And if it's figurative and it's kind of realistic or semi-realistic, it can't be like our little South Park characters, with how South Park characters move, or our little Italian friends. Now, there are solutions to it, but the solution we're going to worry about today is we're going to try and solve the solution in design, because you have to be clever with design. So let's take this with the forearm of the character, right, that we've just seen. So this shoulder is going to move. So this would be a pivot point here that we'd swing it around and move it on. And these would be the creases maybe of the jacket. But if I round this around here a bit, I'm really making a ball and socket that can spin. And the way I can make the second piece is I can get tracing paper and continue the ball, continue the circle, you understand? I can put in a few more circles here, and then I can go down and build. I can even put a little bit of a chink in there for the or kink, or whatever the word is, for the elbow. Now the problem with this is you're going to see black marks, Unfortunately, you could rub that out if you want to. For our argument's sake, we'll just leave it separate. So you can see I've now got 2 arms. This is how tracing paper is very useful. It saves you making the bloody thing and then finding out it doesn't work. You can find out that it does work with tracing paper. And look at how realistically now that arm can move. Eat your heart out, South Park. This is really good moving. Right? And of course, the whole top arm can move as well when you cut it out. So that works. Now let's just look at it maybe when you've designed it up. Right, so you design it up, you've got your extra bit here, so you've got a ball and socket, you've got a little bit more creases that kind of blend in. They're not going to blend in perfect, guys. This is cutout animation. You're not going to have something perfect. Next week we'll be talking about a style that can even make this more figurative and more realistic. But right now we're designing the basics. And there's this little fist. And look, his arm can go down and up. It's got north-south movement. It's also got a little bit of east-west movement, not much, but enough to give a little, you know, kind of movement underneath the camera. It gives it that extra kind of dimension, that lifelike dimension. And this is rounded at the top when you cut it out. Now, why have I got this here? Well, if you look at our friend here, he's quite realistic. So he's got this quite realistic legs. And let's just draw his, let's get the tracing paper back and let's just draw this jacket. Won't draw it with the elbow. It doesn't have to be too detailed because it's on the tracing paper and you're just, okay, I think I traced it. Right, so I'm not doing the elbow or the arms or anything like that. We've dealt with that. Now we put this on the drawing of our cutout man. That's basically what it's like on the original, right? He's down here, right? It's something like this. Imagine now you try to bend him. Oh, yeah, you're getting all this stuff in. You can't have that. So you have to go back to the basic problem of designing, which is, doing this for the third time now, north, south, west, east. So how do you make this so it can bend? Well, you have to go back and design it. You kind of design it like it's wider. And immediately you're taken away from the realism. But nevertheless, you're getting this nice movement. And you've also got this here going. So now it tips over. And look, it goes all the way over. Before that starts kicking out, you can go all the way over. And if he's got very long arms, you can maybe stretch those arms a little bit, and the hands can stretch a bit, so we might be able to pick something up quite easily by just bending that much. But you understand, don't you, that if he goes too far over and you start seeing this waistband, well, then the whole illusion is lost. So it's got to cover. Okay, so do you understand that? I think you do. Okay, so what kind of a character? So when you're finished with it, it doesn't look this good. It looks more like this. Wider, these kind of ball and socket joints there. You can put little little higher ankles on the foot. I always do the neck rounded, you know. Right, do the neck rounded so that if any time the head sort of bends too far, you won't get this, you know. You won't get a sharp edge that wouldn't be possible in real life. You wouldn't get a sharp, like if you round it off, you get a nicer thing happening, right? So what you do then is you design. This is your sketch. This is your plan. You start designing it with tracing paper or whatever way you like to do it, and you start looking for these north, south, west movements, and you then cut it out or test it with tracing paper to find, is it able to express itself as a performer, as an actor in a film, as someone who can stretch and grab and reach out and do more than you actually plan to do in the film. It's a very, very important thing to do. And then you see how many parts there would be, right? He's got 2 legs, he's got 2 forelegs and 2 calves and 2 shoes with maybe the ankles already in place. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 2 wrists, 7 and 8. Maybe the body divides into 2. You'd have to design something here where you want him to go backwards or something, you know, and you go, well, how far can I get him to go backwards? So you might have 2 spaces here, which you kind of design. Maybe it's a rugby jumper or something, and he's got stripes, and you could mess around with the stripes to disguise the cut you're going to have to make. So I've lost count. What was that? 7, 8, 9, 10, I think. And then you've got the head. So you could be ending up with 9 different pieces for that character. And again, you don't want fiddly bits too. You can worry about the fiddly bits when we talk about substitution and close-ups, which we will be doing next week. So just think about, you know, building up a little studio for yourself if you're getting into this. You know, you need, what do you need? You don't need that much. You need card, obviously. You need tracing paper. You need black markers. You need scalpels for other bits and pieces. Scissors helps. I've got carbon paper, a cutting mat. I could have to use a newspaper, but you know, you can see I did a bit of cutting. So the whole thing is, it's a very, very nice piece of, it's a nice piece of animation. It's cottage industry. You can create things yourself straight off, and you can make films very, very cheaply. And the secret is though to think like an animator. Think about weight and timing, nice arcs, all that kind of stuff. If you think like that, you'll make something better than South Park. South Park has got character, the designs of character, the movement is dire, it's script driven. That's why it works. But we're animators, we're going to make it animator driven, okay? So think about design. I want to see a profile, full figure character for next week. You don't have to animate it. If you don't have the wherewithal. If you do have the wherewithal, do. But you can show it to me in stills, or you can show it to me under the camera in stills and send me stills of it in exaggerated positions to show that you've designed it and it can do things like bend or stretch or jump up and down, whatever. Okay, guys, so I'll go back to you and talk to you live again now.